Hi everyone, I'm Justisa and welcome to Dark History of Sweden. I want to start off this video by welcoming all new subscribers and say thank you to everyone who watched my last Dark History video. It went beyond what I thought it ever could and I am so grateful. Hopefully I will be able to deliver just as good videos as that one, and hopefully you will enjoy this one as well. And a big thank you again for your support. We will continue on with a cult today. A cult that is described as the cult of cults by an ex-member. The Plymouth Brethren. The Plymouth Brethren was started by unhappy Christian men and women from Dublin, Ireland in 1829. It started as a Bible study group, but eventually they even started to celebrate Mass together. Some of the leaders that elevated this group were John Nelson Darby, Dr. Edward Cronin, John Bellett, and Francis Hutchinson. They thought that Anglican communion had too close connections with the government and had abandoned important elements of Christianity. By 1931, as the movement grew, they congregated in Plymouth in England, which gave the movement its name. In 1845, there was a split between Darby and the Plymouth Brethren, which led to the movement splitting into two factions: the Open Brethren and the Exclusive Brethren. This isn't the one that is present in Sweden, but I do want to talk about them and what they are about and the differences between the two factions. This type of congregation within the Plymouth Brethren focuses on the surrounding community and also has a more positive attitude to other Christians. It's a way to network between the local churches. In a lot of the open congregations, they welcome most people regardless of what church they belong to. They have mass, gospel meetings, and youth events in partnership with non-brethren churches. In the Faroe Islands, the Open Brethren is quite common compared to other smaller churches. About 10% of the population are in the Open Brethren congregation, which is about the same percentage of their population that is within another revival movement, Heimamosonin. I don't know if I said that correctly because it is in like Icelandic, and believe it or not, that is way different than Swedish. The biggest difference between the Open and the Exclusive Brethren is the fact that while the Open Brethren prioritize community, the Exclusive Brethren prioritize family. They are more interdependent and conservative. Every Sunday, all members of the congregation participate in the Lord's meal. This is an important part of their belief. There are also several principles you have to abide by within the Exclusive Brethren. It is forbidden for a member to eat with a non-brethren. It is forbidden to belong to a union or guild. Women and girls are not to wear pants. Contraception and abort is forbidden. Christmas and other holidays are not celebrated. Members don't vote in public elections. A special permission is needed to move to another district. And probably many more. Another thing is that women are barely allowed to work, only if they desperately need the money. And if that is the case, the woman isn't to have a position over any man. She isn't even allowed to be a teacher, since she has to tell the boys what to do and learn. Therefore, it is also unusual for women to go to school for more than elementary school, since they don't need it. They're only to care for the families. Even men don't always go more than necessary, like university is forbidden. Hales is one of the top leaders of the Plymouth Brethren, the Exclusive Brethren. He is a billionaire, and non-brethren people actually question as how he can be a billionaire since he doesn't work. He does collect a bit of money from members to give to charity though, to poor people. Anyways, he was born on the 12th of March in 1953, making him 70 years old now. He educates young people on their faith. He isn't very charismatic and has been known to make people uncomfortable, especially people who are not in the cult. But the cult loves him. Hales has been married to his wife for 40 years. They have 6 children and like 33 grandchildren or something. Much else is unknown and difficult to find. The Exclusive Brethren have existed in Sweden for approximately 125 years, and during that time they have accumulated about 400 to 500 members. Most of them live in Småland's Stenar, but they also reside in Helsingborg, Ljungby and Göteborg. In Sweden, the Brethren also opened up a school since they didn't trust the Swedish school system. Female teachers and the children couldn't eat in school because they are not allowed to eat with non-Brethren. In 2007, they bought and took over Laboraskolan in Nyby. Now it is run by One School Global. It is an open school. Anyone is allowed to go there, but according to reports, only Brethren children actually attend it. One School Global exists in 19 other countries. You can't join the Plymouth Brethren just because you want to. You have to be born into the cult. That is the only way to join. And that is also why family is so important to them. The reason I'm telling you this is because next up, we are going to talk about an ex-member, John, who had to leave and suffer the consequences. John grew up in the Swedish congregation of the Brethren. He had horrible memories of anxiety and questioning his belief. In the article that I read, he told about stories from his youth and how he hated his questioning nature. Most children in the congregation felt different and weird in school. So did John, but for him it was also the start of getting out. There was one teacher who often talked to him about all kinds of things, but one day she had a book with her, Crime and Punishment. A forbidden book by the Brethren's standards. John couldn't put the book away, but had to read it in secret, recognizing himself in the boy in the book, the moral dilemmas and mental suffering. Many teachers throughout his youth wished him good luck and told him there was help to get. But he knew that it would take more than just that. But he was still grateful to them. It helped him build up the courage to leave. During his years in gymnasiet, high school, he started to eat with his schoolmates, but told his parents that he went out and ate alone. Little things like that, just to free himself a little. The anxiety was still bad, but it was worth it. At 18, he tried to drink himself stupid. Drink away the questioning and wonder. Sometimes it was just too much and he wanted to be happy. Why couldn't he just be like everyone else in the congregation? Why did he have to be different and question their beliefs? He would have to get a job outside of the congregation to actually be able to leave. He trained to become a tinsmith and got a job at a company outside of the congregation. John also got a cell phone, but the leaders found out, and he and his family were quarantined for a week. Since his transgression, he was deemed to be unclean and unworthy. And this could obviously infect the other members. Another crime John committed against the congregation was his criticism against Bruce Hale, but he refused to confess to any crimes because he didn't think that he had done anything wrong. So the leaders tried to squash his fighting spirit. In 2006, he had enough. He called up a friend and told him it was time. Thanks to a coworker, he had just signed papers for his own apartment. He packed up a bag, and even if they tried to stop him, he jumped into his company car and drove away. That was both the end and the beginning of his life. From that moment forward, he was dead to his family and the brethren. He was treated as if he was leprous or even dead already. He could finally start living the life he always wanted. Wear whatever he wanted, eat whatever he was craving, stay up late, and even hang out with whoever he wanted. Of course, it was difficult to transition from such an isolated life, but he doesn't regret it one bit. John criticizes One School Global a lot because it makes the congregation's hold on the children a lot stronger, and it makes it more difficult for them to actually leave. The congregation is still active in Sweden, and One School Global is still running, even if the education administration is checking up on them every once in a while. That was all I had on the Plymouth Brethren. I hope you enjoyed it and learned something new. Next time I will talk about a very curious murder, so make sure you are subscribed and hit that bell so you don't miss it. Thank you so much for watching. Take care of yourself and each other, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!